So in recent times, I've been thinking about something. Could Blake, one of my friends, this one guy, could he beat Adolf Hitler in the time he was ruling Germany in 1942? Now, there's three scenarios to consider when scaling Blake against Adolf Hitler. Number one, is it in JJS? Number two, does Adolf Hitler have his entire military by his side when fighting against Blake? And number three, is it just Blake and Adolf Hitler in an empty coliseum where the only way they can escape is by killing one another? To begin with, number one, I believe Blake actually wins in this one, depending on if depending on whether or not Adolf Hitler is a good sport about the Roblox video game 1v1, because I believe that Blake, unless Adolf Hitler had a week of prep time where he practiced vessel combos for about 3 days straight, or a week straight, because I said a week, I'm dumb. But I believe Blake could probably beat Hitler in a 1v1, assuming that losing the JJS 1v1 means that you die. Moving on to point two. Could Blake, in theory, beat the entire World War II military from 1942 and Hitler at the time in a 1v1? Being fully honest, I actually asked Blake himself about this one. I said, do you think you'd be able to defend yourself against the entirety of the 1940s German military? And Blake said, and I quote, no. And then I asked, would you at least give them a hard time, or do they no-diff you? And he said, they no-diff you. And then he asked why I'm asking this, and then we don't talk about what I said after that. According to Blake himself, he does lack the confidence, but I do think that he would at least try a little, he would have a little bit of restraint before the German military, and never really yells at him loud enough for him to listen to the German military, because it's just reasonable and it's common sense, you know. Everyone would listen. Like, how do you think they killed so many? As for point three, I think that this is actually the one where Blake has the best chance to win, at least in physical combat. Not including the JJS one. That one's more of a joke, man. I don't know why I put that in. But in terms of physical combat, I think Blake has the best chance in the one-on-one Coliseum deathmatch, because Blake probably is in a more in a healthy physical state than Hitler, as we know in terms of like the combat. I think Blake, with all his hatred, knowing what Hitler has done, he would rush in on the offense. While we all know Hitler was a coward in his time, as he did himself. But I think Blake rushes in on Hitler and starts throwing probably weak ass haymakers, but still punches. He's still throwing punches, and Hitler's probably, there's like a 50-50 chance on who wins, maybe like 75-25, but Blake still has the chance in this one at least. Blake still could possibly beat Hitler. I don't know. Well, at the end of the day, it's still a, like, 43 years old. Yeah, so early 40s. Okay. So early 40s man versus another thing Blake could do is, assuming that Hitler knows that Blake is someone of the future in this time, he could just drop a bombshell of knowledge. Like, I know what happens. You lose the war, and then Hitler loses his mind and probably goes insane and kills himself again or something. I don't know. But this is probably the best one where this is where Blake has like the highest chance of winning. Except for the JJS one. We're not gonna talk about that. We're not gonna talk. Guys, I learned the secret sound isolation technique. I'll be using this in more videos, but this one doesn't have that. So I'm too lazy to re-record all of this. So you might see more of less background noise or whatever. I don't know what to call it. Just like less of like that weird sound that's like plaguing all of my audio.